How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Resolve Blind. So, last time, we found out that the circumstances surrounding the professor's execution are not what they seem, and that he might have been executed somewhere else entirely. And we're about to figure out where that was.
Hell yeah.
With evidence. So, let's get this started. Present your evidence. The evidence that allegedly explains what really happened on the night of the professor's execution. Well, this doesn't really tell us what happened.
Redacted.
I mean, I guess it would be when he got shot.
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
maybe they faked his execution, and then he was gonna come out and then got shot in the face.
Take that!
What happened that night is written very plainly in this newspaper article. Executed criminal returns in the dead of night at local cemetery. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now?
Yeah.
Well, if this article is to be believed, then yes. The professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection!
That's dumb. Don't be a fool. That's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Can you be certain of that?
Yeah.
Are you serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word, yes indeed.
I am so bad at French. Maui! The young man who strolled into the cemetery by chance that night.
Objection!
Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself. But obviously the man made it all up. He's a fucking liar.
Nope.
In any case, this was 10 years ago now. There would be surely no hope in finding him.
Objection!
What are you talking about? On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness well. If you guys would read the damn article. What?
What?
Are you suggesting, counsel, that you've identified the person in question? That you know who claims to have seen these utterly incredible events take place? Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say that he's right here before my very eyes. You will substantiate your latest claim now, then, counsel. Who is the alleged witness of this staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago? If you guys really read at all. You idiots.
Take that!
The man in question is Mr. Enoch Trevor. Trevor. The previous witness. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tussbell's Museum of Waxwork recreates that decade-old scene in great detail. Did you guys do any investigating at all? A condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. And that young man is a 10-year younger Mr. Enoch Trevor.
Oh shit.
Man, you guys suck at your jobs. You didn't even try.
I know.
Order, order! Surely not, counsel. Trevor was there, in Logate Cemetery.
What is all this talk about, Mr. Trevor? Is the name significant?
Yeah, bitch.
Of course. Madame Tussbells doesn't know, does she? Dummy. Yes, it's extremely significant, madam. To your situation as well, in fact.
What situation?
The theft of the Professor Waxwork for your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man.
No. But that would mean...
But.
Madame Tussbells, it would appear you know the name Enoch Trevor.
No. Oui, yes, I know it. But from long ago in the past.
What?
Oh my!
Good gracious.
Good gracious.
Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know.
Yes, of course. You are a poopy butthole. The story of a young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great
Britain.
However,
Great Britain.
Great Britain.
In all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. That is, apart from in one newspaper. The Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I have already shown in court.
You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article? Goodness me, yes, here it is. The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Drebber, a disciple of science at the University of London, and a resident of its student dorms. Unbelievable!
Egad.
When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was true or not.
I see. So you went to meet Mr. Drebber in order to sculpt a waxwork of the man, did you?
Exactamente. He was studying science at the University of London in those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been in my museum to recreate the scene of terror from my cemetery.
The cemetery, not mine. LOL.
What? Damn.
Damn.
So, 10 years ago, a young man appealed to the public about an extraordinary event he'd witnessed. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today. Even though the waxwork's build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing?
Why not?
Which brings us to the 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. Yet the birdcage in fact contained not the body of Mr. Asman, but the same waxwork. The coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated, Dr. Scythe, would have noticed immediately. And yet, she submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Dr. Scythe put her name to a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who is still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. But that misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as the body double.
God.
Oh my god. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Scythe to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Drebber are connected. But according to the missive I received this morning through the prosecutor's office, Dr. Scythe is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? Are you gonna break the rules, Fonzies?
She told us herself. Oh, us so herself, didn't she?
Yeah, she sounded all high and mighty about it. We will be summoning
London
me.
Zeke's your bitch, and
I hate you, to be honest with you. Bruh.
Lord Strong Man?
Lord Strong
Damn.
Man, more like more weak bitch.
Wow. Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. And surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Von Zeke's. Do it!
do it.
The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. What? But Lord Von Zeke's, the missive was issued from the Lord Chief Justice's office.
Objection!
I don't give a fuck. The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me.
Me.
Yes. Let Enoch Drebber and Dr. Scythe both take the stand together. Damn, he really just said fuck Strongheart. I'm doing what I want. Order, order. Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send a subpoena with immediate effect addressed to Dr. Scythe, the forensic investigation team. The woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders. Alright then, Enoch Trevor and Dr. Sight. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could never have been committed. I'm just a stone's throw away. I can feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out.
Aw, snap.
Get a load of these bozos.
God, what an eclectic cast.
Is that your word of the day?
Yes.
Thank you for your attendance on such short notice, Dr. Scythe.
I'm disappointed in you, Lord Von Zeeks. You've completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office.
Betrayal is not in my nature, as long as the truth isn't compromised.
Everyone here is so emo.
If it is, if there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then no matter whom it concerns or disgruntles, I will pursue the matter to the bitter end, as would any prosecutor worth his salt. What do you have to say to that?
I hate you.
Mr. Trevor, you took the victim's life by means of a machine that you constructed in your workshop. And Dr. Scythe, as the investigating coroner, you were the first on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime.
And where's your evidence?
Just give me some time.
Just
At
give me some
present,
time.
we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. This model of the killer known as the Professor, who was sentenced to death 10 years ago.
You don't need to tell me.
Then why'd you ask?
I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes and officially pronounced him dead.
That remains to be seen.
I pronounce you dead as well. Is that so?
According to the newspaper reports from the time, on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life.
The killer. Don't waste my time.
And the sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Trevor, wasn't it? If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction, but reality, it would make you privy to a very great secret of Dr. Scythe's. A secret so profound, it would compel the coroner to agree to collaborate in your evil scheme, in fact. You gonna say anything?
Nope.
Mr. Trevor, tell the court. Tell everyone the truth of what you saw that night in the Lowgate Cemetery. This fucker's gonna say, actually, I didn't see anything. So he was the student who saw it? You can see the resemblance actually, can't you? With the man in Man of Tough Spells, I mean. Get a look at that guy.
Surely he's not going to claim that's what he really saw, especially not after all these years.
He was a research student at the University of London, wasn't he?
Yeah, a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me.
Can you all shut the fuck up?
Oh shit.
What an interesting twist. When at the time, not one person would take me seriously. Yet now here we are 10 years later, and suddenly my story matters, and in a court of law, too. Very well then, if everyone so wishes. Let's be frank. I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night, for what it's worth. What's wrong, ho?
I hate it here.
I'm malfunctioning. So, Mr. Trevor, your testimony, please, about the events of that night, 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumbled across in Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, of course, as you wish. In the cemetery 10 years earlier. The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery at all 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in that newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. But thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up my dream of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of that newspaper article. Okay. Wait a minute. You're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now? Of course he isn't. That's what I thought he was gonna do. Of course. You'd have to have a screw loose if you believed a corpse could come back from the dead. But, so you're saying this article is not worth the paper is printed on? I think that would be describing it perfectly. Yes. This guy.
This guy.
If the details in the article aren't true, it nullifies your argument, which is why Mr. Drebber and Dr. Scythe would have been working together.
So he's discrediting himself to cripple my argument? Tell me, witness. You claim to have been in the cemetery on some auxiliary business. Can you elaborate? That's right. Grave robbing, to be precise. As you know, Logate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. So among students at the university, it had a reputation for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. Grave robbing, you say? Yes. Exhuming fresh corpses to sell is reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a finger on any valuables buried with the dead. So you were one of the so-called resurrectionists, a particularly unpleasant scourge of society. Scourge. Actually, my fellows and I went by another name. The repurposers. That's fucking stupid. It's quite beyond the pale. You would invite divine retribution, sir. Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. I see. Out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article? Ah, yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene. His name was Wright in Many Memo. Obviously, as time ticked on, I bitterly regretted what I'd done. Claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish, very foolish. Put you back. Royal counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. At once, my lord. I'm a winner, after all.
I'm a wiener.
Alright, so my guess is that probably while I'm pressing, I guarantee Dr. Scythe or Tuspel's gonna have something to say.
Yeah,
in the middle of it.
probably.
By moonlighting, you mean grave robbing, do you? No, mooning. Surely you only need to look at the graveyard scene and my appearance to gauge the answer to that. The lantern and spade. But who on earth would want to buy a dead body?
Any
Oh.
major hospital.
A hospital?
In order to better understand the human body, the study of anatomy is crucial to medical science. But there isn't a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with. Though obviously they can't open express interest in obtaining any more dubious means.
As aspiring scientists, young research students had no money to work with, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we made surreptitious arrangements with the hospital via some of our medical student acquaintances. We would never take anything of value from the graves. This was all for the furtherance of science, you see. That's what we all told ourselves every time we stole into the graveyard at night, spade in hand. You realize body snatching is a serious crime.
We'll snatch
If you
you.
were caught, you would expect the gravest of consequences, like being put into a grave. We students were caught between the hammer and the anvil. We needed funds for research. Professor Harebrained said exactly the same. I'm quite speechless at the apparent levity in which you've revealed his abhorrent behavior. Well, if you wanted to know why I was there at Logate Cemetery, that's the reason. But I never expected it to end the way it did. That I regret to this day.
Hold it!
The strange happening at Logate Cemetery, which you now deny. Not entirely. I ran to fetch the police at the time, you know. I was shaking like a leaf. But they didn't believe a word of it. In fact, I was very nearly arrested myself. So you went to the papers instead? I started big with the London News, but unsurprisingly they didn't want to know either. In the end, though, it was reporters from the gossip rags, the gutter press, that came to get my story. And it spread like the plague through the capital as gossip-hungry Londoners lapped up the tale. The story was in every single paper at the time, with the exception of some broadsheets. And yet only 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. Most of the accounts turned out to be very interpretive ghost stories. What about the article in the Daily Circus? That particular journalist found me in my dormitory. I don't know how, but he discovered my name. So I recounted to him exactly what had happened that night. And from your description, he drew this illustration? Precisely. That's how I learned that the condemned man was the infamous professor. Because the reporter told me so. I had no idea myself, you see. Newspaper reporters are wont to snoop around in matters that don't concern them. So the scene portrayed in the illustration is accurate, then? Well...
Hold it!
What are you talking about? I think I explained already, didn't I? Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so it was renowned among our students at the university for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. For some absurd reason, I was scared of the graveyard at night, and as a result, only too willing to believe that nonsense about the dead coming back to life. But you said you clearly saw it. I said what I'd seen in my mind's eye. After all, resurrection is impossible, isn't it? You'd have to be unhinged to think otherwise. Unless, of course, you're unhinged. You have some evidence that proves I encountered the professor that night. I don't know. Is there any material evidence that could show we really did see the professor?
If we have anything at all, Mr. Naruhodo.
I know. I need to present it against that irritatingly backtracking statement of his. The point is, that night was a pivotal moment in my life.
Hold it!
That young woman being Madame Tuspells, of course. Precisely. I must say, I didn't expect to run into her again like this 10 years later. Oh, hello.
As I have explained, I went by the name published in the article, and comme ça I found the man.
Yes, the article in the Daily Circus, I think you said. I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time. And the young lady put £5 in front of me. So you readily consented to having a waxwork of yourself made and gave permission for it to be put on display. I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded.
Ah, oui, I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day, n'est-ce pas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nest C pack.
Did you? I can't say I remember. What was it, madam?
His
Oh.
camera.
Oh. Oh, yes, I made a point of taking it with me wherever I made an excursion to any cemetery. You took a camera with you, sir? To what end? To record the details of the bodies I disinterred. But I had no intention of ever visiting the graveyard again after that night, so I sold it. I see. Wow.
But I still have it, monsieur. It is part of the special exhibit in my House of Horrors.
Whoops.
I am very meticulous about such details. It is the Tuspells way.
We have
It
it too.
would seem then that this is the very camera Mr. Drebber took with him to Lowgate Cemetery on the night in question.
Yes, interesting. I was about to add a word.
No, you weren't.
Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist.
Hold it!
This article, you mean? Published in the Daily Circus? Yes, somebody informed the dean, and it was my name that appeared in the article. And carelessly let slip that night after night, I was digging up graves. Hardly a model student, you might say. The university's reputation was execrably defiled, and I was expelled as a result. Wow.
Mon Dieu, I had no idea.
And having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialist trade. You combine your knowledge of science with knowledge of stage magic to create various experimental machines intended to demonstrate never-before-seen technology. And you use those deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into giving you money. I mean, he's smart as fuck for that.
Yeah, I know.
Professor Albert Harebrain was just your latest victim, wasn't he? I don't know who that is. Whatever you are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing anything of the sort.
God.
Thanks for your input.
That's all she ever does.
What's Trevor up to? Why would he suddenly change his tune and recant his claim?
I wonder if perhaps it's because of his circumstances have changed now.
What circumstances?
Well, if he admits to having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave 10 years ago, it will expose a secret in Dr. Scythe's past that she would desperately want to hide.
Yes, of course. If Trevor and Dr. Scythe are working together now, and if Trevor were to betray her, there would be no reason for her to continue to cooperate. In that case, there's only one way around it. I'll have to prove he really did see it. Prove he really did see the professor's corpse coming back from the dead as he originally claimed.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, exactly.
And we already have it, which is the camera, I think. You actually saw it, you friggin' liar!
Objection!
Never mind. I thought I was onto something.
Just kidding.
It's definitely that statement, though, because Naruhodo was like, yeah, well, we have evidence. Or if we have evidence, we need to present it to him. No. Science trophy. Waxwork head. No. This?
Objection!
Damn. Never actually saw a professor.
Objection!
Alright, what's the article again?
Oh, snap.
Sorry, Mr. Trevor, but I don't believe that. Don't believe what? You. Your latest claim. You did see the professor on that night 10 years ago. Oh dear, we seem to be at odds. But I was there, and you were not. I know what I didn't see. The illustration with this article was drawn based upon what you told the journalist that you witnessed. A figure emerging from a tomb, wearing an iron mask. Oh. Yes, when the killer was tried 10 years ago. It was decided in the closed court's ruling that the man would wear the mask to hide his identity. It wasn't to be removed even during his execution and subsequent burial. Not even the prison wardens were able to see the man's face. But obviously, the provision of this mask was not public knowledge. So, Mr. Trevor, as you've just heard, a lowly student of the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. So unless you'd actually seen the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in that illustration.
Oh, snap.
Order, order! Well, Mr. Trevor? Break down. Break it down now, y'all. It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. Huh? And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified, which is why I had it in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards, I came to my senses and realized that I'd been mistaken. You're still saying you didn't see it? If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, that was a lot of S's, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course, of course. Only too happy to oblige. Unless, like, he'll be too happy to oblige in the next episode. I'm waiting for Dr. Scythe to, like, step in and be like, no!
I know,
you
I'm waiting for her
betrayed
to
me."
freak out, because right now she's just, like, chill.
Yeah. Mano Tassos is like, I'm just happy to be here.
I love being in court.
So, as always, if you all enjoyed and want to show some love and support for the series and the channel, you know what to do. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you all in the next episode.